Hi everybody, welcome, and it's time for 5 with Rob and Ricardo. Hey Ricardo, what are we taking a look at today?
Hi Rob. So as a new installer, I came across this issue. I installed this Duette shade, and it's just not leveling properly. Have you come across this issue before?
Yeah, this is something that we're kind of hearing about from the field. We've got multiple things going on here. What happened is, I'll bet you, with the shade in your hand, took that shade and tested it before you put it into the mounting brackets.
I did. I wanted to make sure that it was functioning.
Yeah, so make sure you have power and make sure the button's working. Yeah, so what happens is we go ahead and take the shade in the stacked position and go ahead and operate it. And what we're doing is we're taking and we're loosening up the cords here that occur on the spool. You can see that cord looped way over on the top. And this is just a little 32-inch long standard shade. What we've got up here behind Ricardo and I is a 78-inch long top down, bottom up shade. And there's a couple things going on. When you tested the shade, you lowered the shade slightly and allowed the cords up in the top to cross over each other.
And this is what they look like when the cord loses tension and spools over. You can see the spool in the front, the middle rail, has a nice even wrap, and look at our back cord.
So even though this shade is sitting here kind of looking out of level, looking really out of level, when we lower it down, it's just going to keep running in that kind of angled position. It's not going to look good for the customer. But Ricardo, something you can do to defeat this in the field, the first time operating the shade when you see this happen, is just simply go up to the bottom rail of the shade as it's lowering and just put the weight of your hands on it and lower the shade down as it's lowering it with your hands while it's lowering. Two things are happening. You're pulling the cord tighter up here on the spool and the headrail, and you're pulling on the accordion effect of the fabric. The first time operating the shade, the accordion effect of the fabric kind of needs stretched out a little bit, and that can affect the overlap of the spools as well. You ready to try it out?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
All right, let's go ahead and grab onto that, and let's see what happens. You can see Ricardo's pulling on it nice and evenly. He's not really pulling on it with a lot of force. The shade's moving down. It's already evened out.
Has it evened out?
It looks pretty even to me now.
Make sure it stays even, stays level.
As the shade lowers, the slack stays in the spool until the shade is in the completely lowered position. Once the spool reaches a certain point, all of the slack in the cord will be absorbed by the weight of the shade. And then the spool is righted.
And we let that get down to the bottom. And we'll go ahead and jump back and look at that. Now the bottom rail is hanging evenly. We can go ahead and test it with the shade here. Go ahead and run it up. And what we're doing now is, with the full weight of the shade hanging on the spool cord is spooling over.
And here we are inside the headrail watching the spool take up the cord. And as you can see, this is how the spool really should look as it picks up the cord evenly and the cord's pushing itself over on the spool. And as we watch it go up nice and even, it's starting to match that front spool that's for our center rail.
So one cycle, and guess what? We've gone ahead and completed the repair without really doing anything at all. We didn't take the shade down, we didn't take anything apart, we didn't add or subtract anything to the shade, just by lowering it with the weight of our hands on the bottom rail.
All right, Rob. So now that we've sorted out this leveling issue, the shade is now lowering level. Another issue that we need to discuss is that you might start to see some rocking back and forth once the shade gets to the bottom third. And what I want to go ahead and do is show you the bottom of the rail, the bottom rail. You'll see that due to child safety, there has to be a certain distance from the end to ensure that the children don't get a hold of the cord. So this is a 35-inch shade. This is a little bit over 9 inches in. And so as shades are more and more narrow, there is even more towards the middle of the bottom rail, which can lead to that rocking as well. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to lower the shade all the way to the bottom. And there's really just a simple solution. What we're going to do is make sure we have clean hands. We don't want to dirty the shade, even though it is the back of the shade. And we're simply going to massage the back of the fabric. Now this Duette shade, due to the structure of the shade, it's got this accordion sort of shape. We need to relax the fabric by massaging it. So by simply running our clean hands along the back of the fabric, this is going to alleviate that rocking. So the next time you lower the shade, you will eliminate that rocking.